everyone, today we are tearing down the Baby Buddha wearable. So the screws for the pump are not glued in there, but just remember that opening this pump does void your warranty, and especially when we have electronics like lights and things like that, it's very easy to mess these wearables up. So don't open yours. That's why I do these videos for you. As you can see right in there with the little white marks. Still don't recommend you trying this yourself. I will say Baby Buddha clearly decided not to go the same route that they did with their portable pump, because this housing is put together very tightly, which is not a bad thing. It's actually fantastic as long as you're not trying to break into it. Another thing to be worried about, why I don't recommend taking these pumps apart, are these little prongs right here. This is for your magnetic charging port, and if you went about this wrong, you could easily snap those off, so I don't recommend that. As far as the housing being put together, is actually done really well. You've got your two batteries here. Interesting how they kind of like laid that out. Let's take this apart further. I want to see what's underneath. Kind of flop all that to the side. Alright, so normally on your wearables, you would have a solenoid valve as well as the motor. Inside of here, we've got the batteries here. There's not an actual solenoid valve for this pump, which is interesting, but it also explains why we're seeing so many issues out of this pump. Personally, through my own testing, I cannot stand this pump, to be honest. And seeing no solenoid valve here actually makes a lot of sense. This particular motor, the way it's working is this is your motor, this is where it's housing a vacuum, and then this, typically when we are looking at motors, we see like a little spout here for exhausting. That's not happening with this one. It's actually flushed. There's little air holes to the side of these screws, and then you can kind of see a seam. See if I can get it. Yeah, there you go. The seam here. We're relying on very small areas to vent off, essentially. So inside of here, there's a counterweight in between the motor and the rotating pistons here that you have. And inside of that is a little kind of like silicone flap valve, essentially, where when it's spinning, the valve is shut. And then when the motor comes to a stop, the valve lets enough pressure release to basically break the vacuum on this. That way the motor can spin again, create a vacuum, and create the suction again. The problem to that is this motor has to come to an absolute complete stop for it to break the vacuum. That is why it feels so rough and is just an unpleasant experience all the way around. I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper in the official review, but that also means that this pump as a whole, with the way it's designed and set up, along with the design of the parts for the duckbill and the backflow protector, or the diaphragm, whichever one you want to call it, it's acting like a push-pull pump, which, as you can tell, we don't like those. They tend to kill milk supply, but it's not an actual push-pull design. Like, they didn't intend for it to be a push-pull. It's just acting like one. And a lot of that comes down to the internals here and the way there's no solenoid valve in here. I will actually have to do very specialized testing. I'll probably make a whole separate video on that. But when you open up the Baby Buddha wearable, that's what you're seeing different. It's only a motor and your batteries and then the circuits. There's literally nothing else here. This and this over here, that's going to be your lights. So the little lights that you've got. Of course, this is your control circuit. I've already shown you the prongs for your magnet charging. And then, of course, your LED screen that you're looking at through here. Yeah, there's not a lot visually to look at, but that right there, that is the primary failure for this pump. And then the parts are all secondary. So stay tuned for more on the Baby Buddha.